Hey, good evening, everybody. Welcome back to the Six Rings King Show on a new night, Monday night now, baby. We're really excited actually to have Eric McLean on the show here, college football analyst, co-host of the Huddle. Coach, yes, all right.
First touchdown of the year.
Miami Hurricanes, yeah. You know the name already. It's Mercy. Ha ha. It's a six-ring Kane show. Can't forget the name though. Got Jazz, Blue, Fishy, DJ, break the game code. Ain't no changing them, ain't no breaking them. Real put alive from the Hard Rock Stadium. Ball 14 for the orange and green. We see the six-ring champs. It's more than a dream. This is life on the field. Beyond 100 yards, a hurricane that's never still put a damage to your squad.
What's wrong with us? Seriously.
What's wrong with us? We're Miami Hurricanes fans.
Welcome to the Six Rings Kane Show, a show dedicated to Miami Hurricane sports, featuring the legendary Larry Bluestein, Jazz Santana, Vish, and Danny Gillette. Let's go Canes.
Welcome back, everybody. Happy New Year.
Who are you guys?
We almost forgot how to do this.
I know.
Right? You should have heard Vish like 5 minutes before. All right, wait a second. Let's make sure everything works. It's
been a while. It's been a while. Yeah.
It's been a while, man. But blessed to have everybody back here in the new year, talking a little college football today, baby. Transfer portal news, recruiting news. But also tonight is the night where we all wish and we all pray to the football gods that we will be one day soon. And it's national championship night, right? As TCU gets ready to take on the Georgia Bulldogs right now. Game's about to start probably in the next 5 minutes or so. So, it's. I was talking to Vish off air, DJ, about this, saying that there is not an amount of money that I wouldn't pay to be at this game when the Hurricanes get back to it. And it doesn't really matter. And then we're like, well, let's try to see if we can credential first. No, yeah. The truth is, man, like this is obviously, right, the pinnacle of college football, the national championship game, where this is the reason why we did what we did last year. Okay, was we brought in this staff. We're starting to recruit, we're starting to transfer portal, trying to get this team together, this program together to where it needs to be able to be, whether it's in California or New Orleans or Texas or Miami, wherever the game is at, Atlanta, it doesn't matter. That's where we want to be at the end of the day. Obviously, in the next couple of years, things are going to change a little bit with the playoffs again. So that's going to be interesting to see a top 12. Now you've got like a legitimate playoff, with 12 teams where anything could happen, anything goes. And so the point is to get into that and to compete and to be in this position to be able to, hoist up that national championship trophy. So saying that, let's talk a little bit about this game real quick. Because I think obviously I don't think any of us had TCU playing in the national championship game when the season started. And quite frankly, even when, it was getting closer to, bowl season and all that, we kind of it's a surprise, but it's a hell of a team, right? And I know a lot of people are saying, well, hey, they went 5-7 last year, look at them this year, and they're playing for the national championship, and why couldn't we do that and all that stuff? We're not here to have that conversation today. I'm actually very happy that TCU is in the national championship game. They've got a hell of a team, but they are playing a juggernaut, right? They're playing the best team in college football, and that's the Georgia Bulldogs. And this is going to be a tough test for TCU. Really quick, we've got 5 minutes, about 5 minutes to go before this game starts. How do you like this? What do you like about TCU and Georgia? We'll start off with you, DJ, and what do you think this game, how this game could go?
I like TCU because of the speed on defense that they bring to the table. I watched them in the semifinal game a couple weeks ago, and, they just had a bunch of speed defensively. And I think that's something that, Miami, that could be a blueprint for them, speed on the defensive side of the football. And then as far as Georgia goes, I mean, they have a, two-headed monster at running back. They have great wide receivers. They have a pretty good quarterback in Stetson Bennett, not to mention a solid O-line. So Georgia kind of has that well-rounded team that, you kind of want to, make your program into. As far as how this game will go, I think, TCU will keep it close in the first quarter, but as experienced teams do, Georgia will turn on the gas in the second half when they need it most, and they know how to win. They know how to get the job done. So I see Georgia winning tonight, but I don't think it will be a blowout. I think it's going to be a fun game for sure.
Yeah, it's a 13. It's a 13-point spread, Vish. I'm not a gambling man. I don't do any of that stuff, but I love this matchup for two reasons, right? First of all, the underdog, right? It's TCU. Like if Michigan was in it, obviously, I've already said, I love Michigan, right? I love to see them back in it. However, seeing TCU in it, it's that underdog mentality that they have, right? They've got a chip on their shoulder. They come in with nobody expecting them to win except them, right? And they've got a hell of a team, right? They're led by Max Dugan. They've got Quentin Johnson on the outside. I'm not sure if Kendre Miller is going to play today, but they've got that backup running back. I can't pronounce his name now, but he's a good player. They've got D Winters as another wide receiver. They've got a hell of a line on the defensive side of the ball. They've got some big time players as well. So and not to mention they got LaDainian Tomlinson's nephew, I believe, is the cornerback for them. That's a really good cornerback who's probably going to go out in the first round of the draft. So a solid team, but we're talking about Georgia, right? We're talking about a team that lost five guys lost five first rounders and came back and just absolutely reloaded again, right? A lot of people are saying that they are the new Alabama, right? They're going to be that team that's just going to run through everything now. My biggest concern for TCU is just how big Georgia is up front on both sides of the football. On the offensive side of the ball and on the defensive side of the ball. Jalen Carter, obviously, in Georgia on the defensive side of the ball, leads that defense with Keely Ringo and some of their big-time linebackers as well. Give me your take, Vish, on how you can, how you feel about both of these programs, but also what it would take for a team like TCU to beat Georgia, and who do you got winning the game?
Yeah, just to start off, it's great to see another team in there. This has become
Yes.
the Clemson, Ohio State, Georgia, Alabama playoffs. It's like a combination of some of those teams seem to always be in there. At least there's like some fresh blood in there. It's just, and I know they're going to a 12-team playoff in a couple of years. I think hopefully we're done with just a few teams dominating, because as Michigan, they were heavy favorites. If you actually have to beat people, it's not as easy as it looks. And the more that you have to beat, like the more likely you are to get upsets. There isn't that much, to kind of answer your question, there isn't that much separating these teams at the top of college football. And, TCU, they lost one game this year. It was in overtime. Like this is a really good team, and results matter. Knowing how to win matters. Now, with that said, if you look at what they did against Michigan, I mean, a lot of that was Michigan fumbling in the goal line, Michigan going for it on the first drive, not getting it through 2 pick sixes. Like, they're not going to be able to replicate that. But TCU also made a ton of mistakes. I believe they had 3 turnovers. So for them to win, they can't do that. They got to play clean.
Yeah, if there was 2 or 3 more minutes left in that game, I see Michigan winning it.
Yeah, and frankly, Michigan shot itself in the foot multiple times. And I also, I think if they look back on that, I don't know that they were as focused as they should have been coming in.
Right.
It's one of those things where it sounds stupid to say you overlook an opponent in the semifinals.
Well, the same thing happened to Georgia.
And Georgia was able to kind of pull it out. With that said, I know there's a lot of talk about Georgia's line. Like, that was Michigan's claim to fame. TCU held up fine. Even Michigan was scoring. They did it through the air.
Yep.
They were not able to run the ball. After that first play of the game, they were not able to physically move TCU around, which surprised me for sure. TCU is a lot stronger in the trenches than people think. I mean, Georgia's favored for a reason. I think they'll win, but TCU's got a shot here, and if they got to play clean, though. They cannot turn it over. One of the reasons Michigan kept coming back is, like, at the end of the third quarter, it looked like TCU had taken control. Michigan's a touchdown. TCU fumbles on the next play, right? And you can't do that. They won't be able to get away with that here. But yeah, no, they've got a decent chance. I think the big thing is Dugan needs time to throw the ball. I don't think they're going to be able to run on this Georgia team, but I do think they have some chance in the secondary to take advantage there. So I think that's what they got to do. They got to get him time. He's got to be able to complete passes, and then they're gonna have to win the turnover battle probably heavily.
I think you mentioned this earlier on Twitter too. I think this is going to be a higher scoring game than people think it's going to be. I do think that Georgia wins the game, but like I said, Pimp Down. By the way, shout out to Fresh and Pimp Down already in the chat, throwing out some numbers. That's a big number, 49-21. I know that the the over under is 62, if I'm not mistaken. Wow, this is cool. They've got LaDainian Tomlinson coming out with TCU and Matthew Stafford coming out with Georgia now as they do the coin toss. So kind of cool on that part. Yeah, let's give some predictions here on scores. I'm gonna go. I'll do the first prediction. I'm gonna say it's a little bit of a shootout, and Georgia kind of pulls away a little bit at the end. I'm gonna go 41-31. Georgia wins the national championship. What do you got, DJ?
35-21 Georgia. Georgia's solid play on the interior will stop TCU's run, like you guys kind of alluded to a little bit. TCU will hang around in the first half, but the second half is when Georgia will use that experience and seal the game.
I like it. What do you got, Bish?
Yeah, I'll go 38-28. And it feels like one where Georgia's kind of in control the whole game, but TCU's just hanging around, but doesn't quite have enough.
I'm with you. I think it's gonna be fun to watch though. They're gonna get set to kick off now, so we'll definitely watch that a little bit here before we get on out before we get on out of here. But let's shift over to what we all want to talk about, man. Let's talk a little transfer portal football, Miami Hurricanes recruiting. We really didn't get to talk to you guys too much after early National Signing Day in December. So quite a bit has happened since then, right? We know Cormani McClain did not sign. He looks to be signing on the 15th. There's only about 10 days left in the transfer portal. So let's, for everybody who's kind of getting anxious, trust me, I think I'm getting a little anxious as well. I don't want to continue with the cliche of we got to trust Mario. We got to let him do his thing. We got to I get all of that, but we're still kind of getting anxious, right? There's a lot of good players that have already committed to other schools. That's not to say Miami hasn't gotten a few really good players. We'll start off with yesterday, actually. I think they got what could possibly be the best center in the transfer portal. And quite frankly, he was one of the best centers in college football last year, which is Matt Lee, 6'4" to 300-pound center who transferred out of UCF. I think it was rated the top. Some have him as number 1 center. Some have him as the top 3 center in college football last year. Big time pickup for the Miami Hurricanes, I think, as we continue to bolster and revamp the offensive line, which obviously is a huge issue. Now creates a little more depth. I know we talked about depth last year, but we're really talking about some serious revamping with one of the top centers in college football now coming to play at Miami. Has some really nice ties to the area because if any of you noticed the pictures that were taken when he was out to dinner with Coach Mirabal and Cristobal, and there you go, top 3 centers in the nation. And some of the other guys, they brought out a close friend of Mario Cristobal who was with him at Columbus. They know each other from Columbus, who played center at UCF, and I think his name was Mike Galvez, if I'm not mistaken. He came out to the dinner. You saw TVD out there in the dinner as well. So they pulled out all the stops to get Matt Lee down here to Miami, and I think that it's a great move. This is not a knock on Ja'Kai Clark, but this just improves that offensive line even more, creates more competition, creates more depth, and you get a guy like that. Whether which obviously there's a lot of people that think 17 flags already came out on the field in the first play of the game for false starts. So TCU's already spooked.
ACC refs.
Yeah.
You're buckle up, everyone.
Buckle up. So I like this move of getting Matt Lee. I think it's huge. People are not giving enough credit to this move, to this guy coming in. What are your thoughts on Matt Lee, DJ?
I like the move as well because we want to run the football a little bit more as we see the offense right now. And what do? You get a center that can move people around, can kind of create space in the trenches in Matt Lee, and you you surround players with the complementary assets to run the football. We already have a very strong group of running backs. Now we're getting one of the top 3 centers in Matt Lee. I like that there seems to be cohesion with this move as it relates to the rest of the offense, and I'm excited to see him on the field because I feel like we've been saying we need better offensive line play for quite some time now. You're
Yeah,
on
yeah,
mute.
yeah. Yeah, no kidding. It just so as you mentioned, right? Like now we've got a center that we've recruited. We recruited the number 1 offensive lineman, period, out of the transfer portal, and JVN Cohen as well. You've got the 2 monsters in Samson Okunlola and Francis Maligoa. You're bringing back Jalen Rivers, which is huge, and you've got Matthew McCoy, who a lot of people were saying that he probably would have started last year had he not gotten injured and missed the season. So Matthew McCoy, and then you've got Inez Cooper as well. So now you're talking about getting 7 or 8 deep, right? And of course, Ja'Kai Clark and excuse me, and Zion Nelson if he's healthy. You're talking about a nice offensive line now. Before we get to the next guy, if you're an offensive lineman, okay, this was a topic that was brought up yesterday in the Discord. If you're an offensive lineman, let's say you're a big time offensive tackle. Obviously, if he wants to come to Miami, Miami will take him. But that's not the question. The question is, if you are an offensive lineman and you saw Miami's, depth, you saw who they had at offensive line, would you want to come play for this for Miami right now? If you had the option, if Miami was an option for you to play offensive line, do you think that you would come in? Would you be the kind of guy that would be like, oh yeah, I can go play there? Do you think that a top offensive lineman would want to come to Miami? Vish, we'll start with you on that.
Yeah. Look at the coaches that you have to coach the offensive line, right? That's the first thing. If you think about the 2 things that matter the most to a player, playing time, which, unfortunately for us, but fortunately for anyone coming in, plenty of playing time available the way that offensive line's been playing. If you do well in practice, you will get a shot there. And the second thing is that they develop you so you have a shot at going to the next level. And we can talk about all we want about how this season went off the rails this year, but no one has any questions about Mirabal and Cristobal's ability to develop offensive linemen. So you look at that pedigree as you're in lineman, I can play right away and get coached by people that have consistently put people in the league. Damn you, Ben.
Yep,
You
got
guys
to put
figure
that
out-
one up. You gotta put that one up.
So yeah, I would definitely come in here because I think I could play right away, and I think I have a good shot at going to the next level after that.
Yeah, I think that if you are an underclassman, if you are a I love that, Ben. Shout out to Ben. Anthony's got a question. We'll talk about it in a second. And Pim Down, you brought something up. We'll talk about for sure in a second. But I think that if you're a top lineman, I think you still got one spot open for a big time guy to come in and compete. Now the question is, right? Here's the risk. The risk is if you are a senior, if you're trying to get some NFL tape and NIL money, it's a risk to come here right now because of all the guys that they have recruited already. So do you want to risk having to really, and I know it sounds crazy, but this is the world we live in now for college football, right? Do you want to risk having to come in and bust your butt to compete for a starting job, or do you want to go to a place where you know you're going to start right away, get playing time, get NFL tape, and boom, and get your NIL money? I think that's going to be the biggest concern for any other big time offensive lineman that wants to come in here, because you've got 100 other places that could, bring you in to start right away. So that's going to be the biggest thing. Let's move into the next guy that committed today. Another big time guy that we definitely needed on the in the trenches, right, on the defensive side of the ball. Big time defensive tackle, big defensive tackle. I don't want to say he's a big time defensive tackle. He's in the transfer portal, but he's a guy that can come in and really contribute. Considering also, obviously, there was a lot of smoke about Daryl Jackson coming back to Miami and not signing with FSU. That's no longer the case anymore. He decided to sign up and enroll. That was a tricky one. It was a crazy one. We won't really kind of talk about it because who the hell knows what the hell happened there. But let's talk about Branson Dean, I believe his name is. If I got that name right.
I thought it was just Brandon, but let me take a look here. It is Branson. You're right.
Branson, it is?
Yep.
Okay. So Branson Dean, right? Dean is the last name?
Yep.
Awesome. Branson Dean.
Dean with 2 E's.
With 2 E's out of Purdue, right? Big defensive tackle. Another guy, 6 foot, 6'4", 6'5", 280 pounds. He's another big guy that is going to come in and probably be pretty productive here as well. You know, look, Miami's looking at some other guys as well still to kind of bolster that that defensive line, especially on the inside. Excuse me. So, don't know a lot about him, but you know, based off of some of the people that I've spoken to, his tape is pretty good. He's got a motor. He can come in and he can, you know, plug some holes in defensive tackle, which is obviously a position that we're going to need some help at. Not a lot of guys there right now, but the guys that we do have are very good. You know, a lot of people are sleeping on guys like Ahmad Moten. And he obviously get Liechtenstein back for his 28th year in college football. But I like this move with Branson Dean. DJ, this is a Big Ten guy, right? Purdue. You probably saw a little bit more Purdue football than some of us did. Any ideas as to what a guy like Branson Dean could bring, or maybe even even the type of defense that he played at Purdue, how it translates to him coming down here and being productive here?
Well, I can say that for a Big Ten defense and a Big Ten defensive player, you need to know how to be able to stop the run. Running the football is a big thing in the Big Ten, and we saw it here for better or for worse with Josh Gaddis. I mean, but he had 28 tackles last season. He was a Big Ten honorable mention. He's a guy that can come in and make an immediate impact. You know, he can move. He is, you know, a quick mover, but he's also a very solid all-around tackler and somebody that can, you know, help stop the run. So I think this is, you know, a good pickup for Miami because, you know, I don't want to sound biased here, but Big Ten football kind of helps defensive tackles transition and condition to a gritty type of offensive run game. And I think that will help Miami in the trenches as well.
Ben, I don't know if that's entirely true. I don't think it is, and we'll check that. We'll check that stat. But I know that he had some big time offensive linemen at Oregon, like Lemieux, and he had another guy. I can't remember his name now, but I know he had.
I believe Ben is correct. Actually, I mean, check.
Yeah, I don't. It could be, but I think Lemieux got drafted, if I'm not mistaken, and I think he may have had another guy. That was drafted, but he could be right. But I think if you look at some of the guys that he did develop, that obviously were still there now at Oregon, that's neither here nor there. I think him and Mirabal know how to develop offensive linemen. I'm pretty sure he coached the offensive line at Alabama, but whatever. You know, who knows? You know, I don't know if that has anything to do with developing offensive linemen or whatnot, but I think he did okay doing that. Kind of going back on Branson Dean, Vish, just overall the defensive tackle position, right? That's a position that, you know, we've had a little bit of attrition this past year, and quite frankly, not great play, right? Darrell Jackson was probably our top guy there with Leonard Taylor flashing a little bit, but that's a position of need. Branson Dean provides that, right?
Yeah, and we've talked about this offline. I don't know if we talked about it on the show much, but a majority of our portal kids are off the defense.
Yep, Thomas Gore is another one that got played.
Yeah. So we got to plug gaps there, and he'll certainly do that. The thing that jumps out to me is he was productive, right? And we just need guys that can make plays and, you know, make tackles when they're in position. We're expecting Leonard Taylor, you know, to like, if you recall last year, he got off to a slow start, had a, you know, Cristobal kind of talked to him. They had like a talk about, you know, his performance and things he needs to do better, and made a huge difference. He came back strong in the second half of the year. If you get Leonard Taylor drawing double teams consistently, forcing that, then you just need the guy next to him to be productive, make the right play, make the tackle. And Dean definitely has done that at Purdue. So What you're looking for there is just productivity. When the play comes to you, make the tackle, stay in the right gap, and allow Leonard Taylor to occupy multiple blockers. And I think that's kind of the plan here. And you can see the guys that, because look, it'd be great if you could get like, All-Americans in the portal at every position. That's not going to happen, right? So you're looking for productivity, guys that can fill a gap, because you're looking to build that 5-star talent out of high school, right? That's so you can kind of see those two things happening at once. And that's why you mentioned Gore as well. These are guys that have been really productive. That you figure, if you put them in the right position and the play comes in, they'll make the tackle, they'll make the play, and that's
what you want.
As low as a bar as that might sound, hasn't been happening. So this is. I feel this isn't. You mentioned Darrell Jackson, and obviously we don't know what happened with the whole drama this week, but he was probably our most productive, at least over the course of the entire year, defensive tackle. I think Dean has the potential to be quite a bit better than that. So I'm definitely excited with this.
Yeah.
By the way, Georgia did score a touchdown on a kind of like whatever.
The first opening salvos weren't promising, with Dugan missing 2 easy throws, including one that looked like could have gone for a touchdown, and then TCU missing a bunch of tackles, and then letting Stetson Bennett walk into the end zone from 20 yards. So not looking good.
That looked pretty easy to me.
Early returns are not good.
Ben, yeah. So all good. Yeah. So it looks like he did have some other guys drafted. Yeah, he only had Penei Sewell drafted in the first round. I mean, it's still pretty good, man. You're talking about four offensive linemen drafted. At the end of the day, not everybody can get drafted in the first round, or in the third, or in the second round. I mean, the fact that he did develop offensive linemen, that many offensive linemen to get drafted is a big deal. So I like that either way. Also, someone mentioned up here. Let's kind of go back really quick to what I believe it was Pimp Down. Yes, so Pimp Down wrote 746. Yeah. Oh shit! I almost dropped my light here.
It's the off season. You're not.
I'm not ready, man.
Yeah.
I don't know.
We didn't. Six Rings Kane show. We did not make a bowl game, so we're like not haven't been practicing. It's a little rusty here.
Not getting Thornton, the wide receiver. We're talking about the wide receiver from Oregon. Was a bit of a letdown. Yes, he committed.
Yeah, and then Anthony kind of had a follow up on the same subject. So kind of
can't get our offense coordinator. I think that's what he meant. Can our offense coordinator get one of the receivers in the portal to come to Miami? So number one with Thornton, look. You got to understand some of these guys. Okay, let's put this out there so that a lot of fans understand this, and I'm sure some of you know this already. But you're not going to get. Well, number one, obviously, you're not going to get everybody. Okay, that's obvious. But I think the biggest thing to understand is that some of these guys are going to go to the highest bidder. Right? That's what you're looking for. They're looking for NIL money. They're looking to go to the place that's going to pay them the most. And as much money as Miami does have, right, and they've got a great collective, and they've got, Johnny and some of these other guys, and they've got the money to pay people, that does not mean that they're going to overpay for players. So I want you to get that right? So that's the biggest thing to take out of all of this when you're talking about guys like Dante Horton and some of these other guys that maybe choose to go somewhere else. Yeah, Miami was in it. And it is a little bit of a letdown because, a lot of us are talking about needing that big-time wide receiver one. And we'll get into wide receivers in a second because I think we're in a better position than we think we are. However, it's a little bit of a letdown. Look, at the end of the day, Miami is looking to do some things. They're still looking to do some things in the transfer portal that could help that position, and TCU fumbles, and Georgia just picked up.
Yeah, this is gonna go.
Yeah, this is gonna get
ugly. Yeah, this is gone.
This might be a
what a shame.
Alabama Notre Dame 2012, maybe. I'm thinking.
That was a big hit. Yikes.
Yeah, that was a bad one.
That was no good.
So Anthony, I'm hoping that Miami does pick up a wide receiver in the transfer portal. I think that what I want is a guy with productivity. And Vish, you mentioned this, right? Not only in the trenches, but you need a guy with productivity and experience. I don't want to get a guy. Let me rephrase that. I prefer to get a guy in the transfer portal that has 60, 70 catches 1,000 yards receiving, 900 yards receiving, even if it's at a small school, right? The tape doesn't lie. So if the guy can play a tape, and now you've got Zoe evaluating tape, I'm going to trust whatever Zoe is going to go after. So if you've got that kind of stuff going on, that's what I want in a wide receiver, right? Is a guy with tape, a guy with productivity, a guy who's caught 50, 60, 70 balls. And if you can't find that there, then you got to do something else. I will tell you this, guys. Here's how I feel about the wide receiver position. Okay, before we kind of move on about and talk a little bit about some other stuff here. I think the wide receiver position is a little bit better off than a lot of people think it is. Okay, you've got Kobe Young, who, to be honest with you, he played maybe half the season, right? Is when we really saw him, 5-6 games. He does need to develop, right? He does need to get some things, but we saw flashes of how great he can be, right? And that's how wide receivers start off, right? You show flashes and then you develop and you continue to get better. I think that he is the type of guy that can come in and be a wide receiver one type of guy, Kobe Young. A lot of people have the misconception that the wide receiver one needs to take the top off the defense every time and score 50, 60, 70-yard touchdown passes all the time. No, a wide receiver one is a dependable guy that when you need him to get, a couple extra yards, when you need him to score that touchdown in the red zone, he can go up and get the ball. He can go up and do some things and create plays. And I think Kobe Young is that type of guy. Then you've got, and you guys know how I feel about Jacoby George. He's my favorite wide receiver. Okay. You got him coming back completely healthy. I think he's a guy that's primed to have a big, big season. And you've got X, who's going to be back completely healthy. You got Brashard Smith coming back completely healthy. So you've got a nice nucleus of guys right there. Then you've got the younger guys that are going to have to develop, and they're going to get some playing time, right? Zay Horton, Robbie Washington, Ray Joseph, Nathaniel Joseph. So those are the other guys. So I still think you might need one more guy there, but I think, and I forgot to mention, look, Frank Ladson was better than I think people thought he was last year also, right? Like, he wasn't a superstar. What a lot of people thought, he's a 5-star guy, he's going to be a superstar. But let's be real, right? Like, he's injury prone at Clemson. He had some issues with injuries. Didn't play his best. He's going to come out. Maybe he's the kind of guy that can kind of develop and get a little bit better also. He's got a couple years left to do some things. So I think that, Miami needs an extra guy. But I think we're a little bit better off than we think at wide receivers. So what is Anthony right here? Let's be honest, with the type of offense at Miami, a lot of wide receivers have to think long and hard before choose. I don't think it's a type of offense, Anthony. I just think that we need to execute. If we execute and we score points, we're going to be fine. Guys are going to come here and going to play.
And I think, we like to, I don't know why we do this, but think, we're impervious to injuries. Like, I'm sorry, but we spent a half of the year with quarterbacks that pretty much could not throw. Like, when TVD wasn't in there, like, Jake Garcia really struggled. Jakari's a work in progress. Like, that was not ideal for receivers to thrive in. And you kind of saw Colby Young drop off the face of the earth after TVD got injured, after they'd established a good rapport and they were kind of building something there that you're like, all right, we got a combination that works here. And then TVD gets injured and that kind of just goes away entirely. So
100%.
So I think it's hard to evaluate the receivers last year because of that. The quarterback play, even TVD was very inconsistent. And then the other two really could not ever get in any kind of throwing rhythm that would allow the receivers to show anything. So to your point, I think if you're going portal, I do think we need one more.
Yeah.
And if you're going portal, it needs to be someone that is productive, that's polished. Because if we're going to go work in progress with someone, we have a really good freshman class coming in. We have some young guys on the roster already that are looking for an opportunity that, if it's a project, I'd rather just, go with what we got. But if you get someone that's productive that, I just got to run the routes correctly, get open, like you said, doesn't have to take the top off the deep, but just someone dependable that we assume TVD can check down to or rely on to be in the right spot when he needs to go through his progressions. That is kind of what you're looking for in the portal at this point.
Yep. And also this type of offense, it's very much the running game, helps open up the passing game, and the passing game can make defenses kind of relax in terms of the running game. And a lot of times last year we either had the receivers working well and the running game just not doing anything, or the running game doing everything, and inconsistent quarterback and receiver play. So I can't recall too many times last year when the offense was completely in sync, because I watched the college football playoff semifinals, and Ohio State had their running game working and their passing game working, and it complemented each other very well. There definitely is an offensive plan, especially to get wide receivers involved, but I think it feeds off of the running game a lot as well. And that's kind of the only bad thing about this offense, is if one thing doesn't work well, then it seems like the other thing can't get going. So hopefully we'll see something better next season.
Well, and you know what? And by the way, I want to preface that by saying I hear what you're saying, Anthony, because yes, like a lot of wide receivers are going to look at this offense and be like, whoa, like this is not going to work for me, right? Like I'm not going to be able to go there and show out.
I
But
agree
then,
too, yeah.
and that's where the recruiting comes into play, right? These guys are going to have to bust their ass recruiting some of these wide receivers and showing them the vision that they're going to have for them, come down the road in a year or two when this offense starts to get, clicking and get going. And you might have to do some other things, right? You might have to go and hire a wide receiver coach who's just going to develop wide receivers, right? So, which we'll kind of get into coaching a little bit now in a second, but and some other things. But I think with one more guy, I'm okay. I'm comfortable with that, and we'll see. We'll see what happens. We'll see what happens with the wide receivers. I wouldn't give up on it just yet. I think what you're going to see now also is two things, right? I'm not saying that we're gonna pick up someone from Georgia or TCU, but look, this is the last game of the season right now. Okay, what's going to happen after this game? You might see some guys from some of these teams hop in the portal, right? And that's a risk. Yeah, so Mario's taking a risk, right, on waiting till some of these bigger names maybe hop in the portal. Maybe some guys from Michigan you saw now.
Well, Mr. Santana has decided that he's hopped in the portal. So
I feel the same way about Michigan, to be honest with you. So no, but like I think what Jazz was saying is there's going to be some attrition, and there's also going to be some attrition after spring ball as well. Once these depth charts become more established, and you start seeing position battles. So I think what Jazz was trying to say is, although we're not guaranteed a 5-star wide receiver from either Georgia or TCU, there will be good quality athletes available. Especially come the end of spring ball when some guys realize, hey, I'm not getting a ton of playing time.
Yeah, and that's always the case, especially with all the coach movement. Some guys don't know how they stand yet. And so once they, like you said, in spring ball or even maybe before that, as they start to get a better idea. The other thing is, TCU might actually do something here. Nice. All right. Might have a game. The other thing is, as Jazz rejoins us.
All right, I need a new computer. This is driving me.
We thought you entered the portal. Yeah. You went to FSU and came back. What happened there?
I feel the same way about Michigan, Jazz. I just fall off the face of the earth when I start mentioning Michigan. Ugh.
I know that's what happened to me, man.
Just to finish that thought, as players kind of as the next National Sign Day closes, there'll also be players looking around saying, who's got scholarships, who wants to take me. Mm-hmm. I think there'll be another wave of because there are definitely schools holding open spots for high school players that they're not going to be able to fill. Then that opens up a portal spot. So I think there's going to be a few more rounds of kind of players dumping into the portal and getting picked out.
Absolutely.
I guess so. We covered the wide receivers, right? Before we get into the coaching stuff, let's give a shout out to our sponsor, PrizePicks, baby. Forgot to mention them earlier, but a big shout out to PrizePicks.com. We did a little bit of something earlier today on Twitter. We kind of showed you the over under on the quarterbacks as far as their passing yards are concerned. So make sure you check out PrizePicks.com. Sign up. When you sign up, you use the code FIVE, FIVE, and we'll match your deposit up to $100. Okay, your initial deposit up to $100. You don't have to use it all at once. Here's how it works. It's really simple. All depends on how much money you want to win. So choose anywhere between 2 and 5 players. Okay, then you're going to choose the over under on their individual stats. Simple as that. You wait till they play. You win some money. You can pick and choose players from different leagues, different sports. You can do it all. NFL, NBA, college football, college basketball. I think Formula One is coming into this now too, which is kind of cool. So you got baseball. You can do it all. Hockey. You kind of mix and match. Okay. Go ahead, sign up, use the code 5, FIVE, pick 2 to 5 players, the over under, choose the over under on their individual stats, and watch how you win. Make sure you go to prizepicks.com. And again, when you sign up, use the code 5, FIVE, and we will match your initial. Well, they will match it. Not me. I'm not matching anything. But they'll match your initial deposit.
You heard it here. Contact Jazz.
You didn't hear anything here. No chance. But yeah, check them out, prizepicks.com. So the coaching stuff, right? It's tricky, right? Because I don't know anything. Okay, let's let's start with that.
We're all in that boat.
I know JAA mentioned that if there's any ideas on the rumor that Gaddis is leaving within 2 weeks. I have no idea. But here's what I will tell you. The NFL season also ended yesterday. Okay, and Mario may be looking in the NFL for some help, and some guys may not be employed anymore in the NFL. Some guys might get fired, hence someone that got fired today, which was a pretty big one that if he comes back to college football, he'll tear the league apart. So he'll tear college football apart. So there's a lot of different things going on when it comes to coaching that I really can't really speak on yet. I think that we as frustrating as it is, because it's frustrating. It's frustrating to me as well. Okay. That some of the things are just not being told out there. That's the way Mario is, man. He doesn't want anybody to know anything, and it's gonna happen when it happens. If it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen. That's just the bottom line. We might start hearing some stuff soon. With all that being said, okay, take a look at the NFL, see what happens there, okay, and we'll kind of go from there. Now, again,
I will just say I'm gonna side with Ben on this one.
Zergano has OC hard pass. I'm just saying he's a guy, right?
So he was a crappy coach at Texas Tech who fired him. He then somehow, this is like so ridiculous if you think about it. Fired by a college team immediately with any rehabilitation, head coach of an NFL team.
Yeah, isn't that crazy?
Who he's now fired of again.
So he was a bad head coach, though, right? He was a terrible head coach.
Yeah, and he hasn't been an offensive coach, like an offensive coordinator. He's been calling plays, but he's been getting fired everywhere he's doing it. So I don't know. But I do think.
Did he call plays at Texas Tech, by the way?
I think so, yeah.
He might have called plays.
Yeah, but Jazz, I think to your point, I think I would be looking for those NFL coaches that are shaken loose. I think it's probably more at the analyst position where where they're like looking to like just have less pressure for a year,
right?
Because I don't know that any of I know Ben brought up Kingsbury. I don't know that any of the guys so far that I'm seeing fired would want to be. I mean, they're definitely not going to take like a position below, I would say, coordinator. And I haven't seen whatever rumors people are talking about, but
that's what everybody wants, right? We want a new offensive coordinator.
Well, I guess I'm alone on this. Don't really feel strongly about it one way or the other. If he goes, I'm okay.
No, I think there's a lot of people
stays, I'm okay, because I think like this is going to be. I don't want to go back to this, but to me, it was the same discussions people had around Al Golden with D'Onofrio, and after a while, I'm like, it doesn't matter because they're running Al Golden's defense. If he gets rid of D'Onofrio and brings in someone else to run his defense, the same defense, and I do agree with Anthony here saying, some of the play calling was certainly subpar. There were times where like, what are we doing here? But if you're looking for some kind of radical style change, that ain't how Mario plays football. And for better or worse, whether you're happy with that or not, this is how we're going to be playing. So I could certainly see, making the argument, even with that style, we could get someone that could maybe, sequence his plays better, put together his game plan better. That's all certainly up for debate when you see how many, like some of the production from last year. So that's why I'm not, but I mean, I know people like kind of talking about, whoa, we got to get back to tempo and spread. Like I'm sorry, whether you like it or
I'm
not.
sure there's going to be a little bit more of that, but that doesn't mean that that's the type of.
Well, I mean, part of the thing with tempo is you have to be successful on first down. The offense was so bad. Like no one's going like incompletion or run for -2 yards and then like line up again, throw it incompletion, line up again. Like no, you have to like get a successful first down play. And so I think there's I think our fan base has kind of fallen in love with something that, again, watch the two teams playing right now. Like what you're asking for is not what these teams are doing. They are playing balanced football. They're huddling. Garrett
Riley runs a little bit more tempo, but no,
but it's not. So I think,
but he still balances it out. He's got great running backs.
I think a lot of and I think a lot of our mindset is set from the fact that we were behind the times. You know, if you think about when like Chip Kelly was the new innovative thing, and that was all gas, no brake, right?
Right.
At that same time, we were lining up in an I formation and doing all stuff that no one was really doing. And I don't think people kind of realize that in that interim for us to get to where we are now, the pendulum has moved from Chip Kelly back a little bit more towards the center, right? Because it was at that point, everyone's like, we got to wing it all over the place. We got to go fast. And
right.
Chip Kelly didn't win squat, and everyone kind of realized, no, you need to balance that a little bit.
Yeah.
Now, you do not need to be doing what we did in the late 90s, early 2000s, right? I don't think anyone's arguing that, but I think, you know.
I don't care. I don't care what team you put Jerry Jeudy or Amari Cooper or Jalen Waddle on. They're going to do the same thing they did at Alabama that they do anywhere else. So that's got nothing to do with
right. The talent definitely comes into play, but
to my point, like you can put those kind of guys in a Josh Gaddis offense, and they're going to do the same exact thing.
Well, see, this is the thing, though, right? So, and this is where I'll kind of side with our fans a little bit. The coaches still matter to a certain degree. Like the talent is like 1 to 5 on the list to like get to the top of college football. If you actually want to win the big things, like the game being played right now, you also need the coaches in place. And I think, you know, there is. I guess where I am on this, which again I think is a little bit different, is I'm not decided on Gaddis that he definitely cannot win here, and I think a lot of our fans are, which is why they're like, I don't care about the talent. At some point, we got to get rid of this guy, right? Because yeah, if you can get more talent in there, you can win 10 games. Can you win all 12? Right? And I think that's, you know, we keep solving a problem we've unfortunately haven't had in the last 20 years. But
well, no, you know why I agree with you, because you know, look at a guy who just caught this pass, Ladd McConkey. Like where did he come out of? Right, he was like a 2-star athlete, a 2-star wide receiver.
I mean, his dad was an NFL receiver.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean anything, right?
So
like
he
developed, and he's a hell of a playmaker now for Georgia, right?
Max Duggan, quarterback, 3-star recruit. Now he's on the national stage.
Well, Stetson Bennett is like the epitome of it all, right? But
it all comes back to development and coaching.
That's what it comes down to. And I think you're right, Vish. I think that you need to have some of that coaching. You need to understand, but you also have to have the right. It's both, right? It's both. You got to have the right players.
And I would counter that with you know, Ladd McConkey and Stetson Bennett aren't doing squat without all the 5 stars around them. Let's be real. You put them on. You said earlier, if you put like Waddle and Jeudy or whatever in a Gaddis scheme, they'll thrive. I think if you put Bennett and McConkey on our team, they would have looked like ass too. Put that offensive line around Stetson Bennett and that running game, and let's see how effective he is. So it's a team game.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah,
do you want to defend yourself?
No, I know what he's saying. The schemes are very important, absolutely, to the talent. The problem is if you don't execute that scheme, then it's like you said, it's tough, right? It's tough to get the wide receivers we need because you're not executing. But is that a coaching thing or is that a player thing, right? Is that a talent thing? Because I mean, I'm sure we can look at the tape and we can see a million times how many guys are open in this scheme. And the quarterback didn't find them. The offensive line didn't give him enough time to find them. So I think that scheme is important. No, I completely agree with you, Pip. But I also think that when you're a generational talent, like a guy like Waddle or Jeudy or something like that, I think that they, McConkey just scored a touchdown. I think you still can thrive at just about any place that you're at. Again, just going back to it, right? You're not going to thrive with a guy like Jakari Brown because he's still developing. I get all of that. But at the same time, those type of guys are going to make it easier for their quarterbacks as well. You see that all the time. You see some quarterbacks that are mediocre play a lot better because you've got guys around them that make them look a lot better too. So, I mean, it goes hand in hand. So I think that scheme is very important, but at the same time, you need to execute that scheme in order for it to be as important as you want it to be. I keep going back to 9 or 10 quarters with 0 TDs. That is coaching or lack of it. Yeah, it's an issue. It's an issue.
So, and this is where like,
yes,
I came down.
Ben. We'll talk about that in a second, Ben.
This is where I came down on. I'm not bothered either way because I attended all 3 games in person where we did not score a touchdown. I was in College Station, Charlottesville, and at the FSU game. So I had some special torture on that. Now I will say, well, actually, technically we scored a touchdown against UVA. Oh no, it was a 2, right? Yeah, no, we didn't score a touchdown.
No, it wasn't.
We got into the end zone though. But I mean, just looking at actually the first drive of both the Clemson FSU game, I mean, it was the first play of the game, right, where Jakari Brown overthrows a touchdown.
Yep.
FSU, the third down right before he kicked the field goal, there were 2 guys wide open. He ended up overthrowing, I think it was X in the end zone. But there was someone else, I think it was Mallory or someone breaking completely wide open too. And it just is a miss. We're leaving plays out on the field too. Now, with that said, 0 TDs. Eventually, you got to make a play, right? I mean, there's 3 games where we did not score a touchdown. That's ridiculously bad. Like, that can't just be explained away by players not executing. The coaches have to take the blame for that.
Absolutely. So. I agree. Ben, you mentioned James Coley. Man, James Coley, we've mentioned his name before. We brought his name up in the past. So, obviously, Bobby Petrino coming in to be the offensive coordinator at Texas A&M. Coley wasn't the offensive coordinator, but he was a wide receivers coach, and he's obviously, I think, a recruiting coordinator as well for them. It's going to be interesting to see what Bobby Petrino does, right? Like, does he bring in some of his guys? Does Jimbo allow him to bring some of his guys in, or is this still Jimbo kind of making the decisions? Coley, it's going to be tough to let go of a guy like James Coley, being that he is one of the best recruiters in the country. He's a hell of a position coach. I think he's a better offensive coordinator than we gave him credit for when he was down here in Miami. But I'd be interested to see what happens with James Coley. Is he a guy that I would want on this staff? Absolutely. If he comes in as a wide receiver coach on this staff, are you kidding me? Come on now. He's great. He's great. But
I'm about to kid you because I don't want him near this staff.
I do 100%. Why don't you want him around this staff?
We've been there, done that. We got to move forward. Like, I'm sorry. He's been here. He's been the offensive coordinator here like 10 years ago or whatever. Like, I don't need to go back to that.
Yeah, but I think
he's been working with Jimbo in College Station. Let him keep that's fine. I don't need him back here. Like, of all the stuff to go, if we're looking to go get a coach, go get a coach. I don't need to wait around for Jimbo to fire someone off his crappy team to try and pick up the scraps.
I don't think
I'd like to be like.
I don't think he gets fired though. Maybe he decides to leave.
If we think we need a wide receivers coach or an offense coordinator, then fire the current guy who holds both those positions and go get a top guy.
No,
I don't need to try and like. Well, if he comes available, like, no, I don't need that.
I disagree with that, right? I think that happens every day in college football, whether it's Alabama doing it or somebody else does. If a guy comes available, then you can go grab him. People get fired all the time, even when they do their job right. So
no. What I'm saying is,
why not get a wide receiver coach and let Gaddis just worry about calling?
What I'm saying is, if you made that determination, go get someone now. Like, I don't need to say, well, we'll run it back, but then if Coley's available. No, if you think Coley's the guy, go get him right now. Like, that's my point. We're sitting here saying, like, because trying to be opportunistic off of A&M's dysfunction. And I'm like, if he's the best guy to have as your wide receiver
but I don't think
coach,
it's that easy, though, Vish. I think there's a lot more that goes into it than just saying, well, let's go get the guy now. Like, yeah, well, hey, I wish it was that easy to just go get the guy now. I think a lot more goes into that when it comes to trying to get the guy that you want. I mean, it could take time. It could take negotiation. You don't know what's going on behind the scenes. What I'm saying is that if right now you're waiting on some other things to happen. Okay, so let's put it this way. What's the difference between that and waiting to see what happens with one of the coaches for TCU or one of the coaches for Georgia or one of the coaches for Michigan all of a sudden deciding coming available? Like if they fire one of those guys, would you not go after him?
That's premier talent, though. You're talking about premier talent right there, not the guy.
You're talking about James Coley, who has recruited and coached premier talent as well.
So
Right, but go ahead, Vish.
no, my response to that is if you've identified we have a gap on our staff, you already should be trying to fill it. And if it means like, everyone available is not good enough, we need to wait, that's fine. But the idea that we're keeping Gaddis around just to be a seat filler in case someone better comes along, like to me,
See, but I don't think that's happening.
You need to fix that, I don't think that's happening either.
I don't think that's happening.
But I think we're sitting here.
But either way, he's not going to come in and be the offensive coordinator here.
Right, but if we think we need a dedicated wide receiver coach, we should have done it already.
Maybe the right guy hasn't come open yet. Maybe.
What if the right guy doesn't come open? We're going to run it back with Gaddis as the wide receiver coach.
Well, I think you've seen that Coach Cristobal will do that, right? If he doesn't get the guy that he wants, he's not just going to get just anybody.
Yeah, so that's where I have an issue with it. Is I think if you determine that you need to upgrade that position, you upgrade it. If you don't need to upgrade it, like I said, I'm not saying Gas has to go, but if you think he has to go, then do it. I just and that includes that includes shrinking responsibilities. And also we've been enamored with our retreads for 20 years. Maybe I'm just jaded by it, but dude, he was here, he's gone. Let him go somewhere else. If you know wide receivers coach, go get one.
I think I would take him in a heartbeat here. I would take it just based off of his recruiting prowess alone, and his ability to develop wide receivers and quite frankly tight ends as well. I would give them both if I
mean, how is A&M's production looking?
As far as what? As far as
anything, really. Frankly, that program sucks worse than we do.
Yeah, they still have better. They still have better wide receivers than we did last year. Evan Stewart was an
but they didn't produce a ton.
I'm pretty sure Evan Stewart produced. Plus, they had the same issues we did, if not worse, at quarterback. They had no quarterback play whatsoever. Haynes King was a scrub. Max Johnson didn't do jack. The other kid, Wigman, played. When he played, they were productive. They won some games with Carson Wigman, and then he got hurt, and they had to go back to Haynes King, and that guy's.
All I'm saying is, if we're making these types of comparisons, then there's got to be some. If we're thinking we need to make a move here, there's got to be something better than this. You just mentioned all these NFL.
I don't know. I mean, think about this for a second, right? Think about this for a second. Corey Raymond. Let's throw Corey Raymond in the mix. Corey Raymond, let's say Florida brings in a new defensive coordinator and wants to get rid of Corey Raymond. You're going to say no to Corey Raymond? His half of his defensive backs transferred out, if not more. Is Corey Raymond a terrible coach? Corey Raymond's an absolute stud. And I take him here every day and twice on Sunday. And that's not a knock on Jamil Adai, but I take him here over Jamil Adai.
Okay.
Every day and twice on Sunday. And I would take him here over just about anybody else in the country. That's the same scenario that could be happening in Texas A&M with Coley.
I feel like you're overrating James Coley quite a bit.
I don't think I am. And I think a lot of people would agree that he is a premier coach at not only as a wide receiver
I think he's viewed as a premier recruiter. I don't think anyone views him as a premier coach, and that's the problem I have.
And there is a difference between the two
because we have all these recruiters left and right on the staff. I don't need another recruiter. What I need is receivers that can run a route correctly.
The same could be said for Mario Cristobal, right? A lot of people see him as a premier recruiter, but not a great coach.
Well, he's not really. He's trying to build a program. That's again a different category.
Well, you still need guys that can do both, and I think that's I guess where I think we just have a different opinion on Coley's ability. Whatever, bro. Vish, you're wrong. That's it. Get over it, bro. That's it. You're wrong. Coley is the GOAT, and that's it.
Make
Look,
him head
you know-
coach. You know,
you
if they
know-
let him go, let's just upgrade from Mario and go right to Cole.
I
as
mean,
head
what the
coach.
hell? Why not? So look, I mean, look at Ream Rose says Kingsbury must get, and then Pimp Down, or was it Pimp Down or Ben that said, "Hell no, please don't get me Cliff Kingsbury." This is what I love about our fans too. You know, like one side will be like Kingsbury, no thanks, I'll pass, a hard pass. Ream Rose like Kingsbury must get. Let's go.
You see the extreme ends of the spectrum in like the span of 5 minutes, and I love it.
Well,
Yeah,
but I mean,
awesome.
and this is a product of 20 years of futility. Just
So,
generalized frustration manifesting itself in many forms. So
Rod, it says move Khalil Brantley to tight end / fullback. I'm pretty sure that's the position he plays now. Rod.
yeah, well, no, he was technically, I think, a receiver, but he was our blocking
Khalil
receiver.
Brantley?
Yeah, he was playing receiver this year as like the blocking receiver. We'd sub him in anytime we wanted to run, and
Yeah, but his title had him as a tight end. He was not a wide receiver.
I'm pretty sure he was listed as a wide receiver.
We have to check that out. I think he was listed as a tight end.
I'm doing so right now.
Evan Stewart, look, 53 receptions, 649, 2 touchdowns. Mario shouldn't level.
Brantley was listed as a tight end.
Offensive coordinator, Warriors here, but I have to be nice or kiss these soft, overrated players. But Gaddis is doing a good. I think he meant to say, or he or she, Louise or Lewis Allen. Gaddis is doing a good job. He does not have to be nice or kiss these soft, overrated players' butts.
So I think that was in response to Rod's comment on.
Yes, Gaddis is mean and nasty. I don't mind mean and nasty. I don't. Whatever. As long as he respects players, that's all. But I don't mind him being mean and nasty. What is Rod saying? Mario shouldn't level it. Gaddis be an offensive. I think he's mean he shouldn't let Gaddis.
I think he's saying it shouldn't let Gaddis be an offensive coordinator and wide receiver.
Right. I think you need to separate it. That's just
which again, I feel like if that's the case, then go get the best wide receiver coach you can get and not sit there. Well, if James Coley comes
available. And you know what? Now that you say that, going back to what you said about the NFL, some guys that and the analyst role, I think you might see some guys that maybe just want to be a position coach. And I think you see that a lot. If you see a guy that's like a wide receiver coach now in the NFL, and he gets fired or he gets let go because there's a new coaching staff come in, it's a lateral move, but he may end up making more money here than he would in the NFL anyway. So
yeah, and I think there's a difference between guys like that are still, a position coach in the NFL, generally, like you said, would make more money than a college position coach. But there's still guys at that level are still trying to figure their career out because like college is a completely different game. Do they want to go that route or not? It used to be, 30 years ago, you'd always go the NFL route because the money was so much more in the NFL. That's not the case anymore. So you might find some guys shake loose that are just like, yeah, I'd rather be in college.
Right.
But when you start talking about Kingsbury and stuff like that, that's not guys who have been head coaches at both levels are not going to come in here and be like, yeah, sure, let me.
I might take a stab at him.
Although I guess Bill O'Brien, is Alabama's, and he did Penn State and the Texans.
He's probably going to get a job in the NFL. I might take a stab at Kingsbury as my offensive coordinator, but that's for another conversation. Ben says maybe we can get Brian McClendon back from Georgia. Hey, maybe. You never know. You never know what
he's busy right now.
What Mario's going to do, but he's kind of busy today. Like. Yeah, maybe the next week or so. You're going to see a lot of. I think when you're going to see a lot of things drop is in the next couple of weeks. So, Anthony, shout out to Anthony, man! Congratulations, Uncle Anthony. Awesome, man. Yeah, how about Garrett Riley? Yeah, offensive.
Congratulations, Anthony.
He's a little busy right now too. So, and I don't know. I mean, I get it. He loses Dugan and he loses Quentin Johnston and a lot of his big time players there at TCU. But I mean, they're building something pretty nice over there with Sonny Dykes. I don't know if Garrett Riley's going to make a lateral move like that as to come to Miami to be an offensive coordinator when they've got a pretty good recruiting class. You've got Sonny Dykes. I mean, I don't know. Well, you never know. But
well, I think step one is us deciding if we want to keep the current guy or not.
That's true. Right, correct. And then you go from one Broyles Award winner to the next. How about that? That'd be interesting. Michigan became more productive after Gaddis left. They did well because it was Harbaugh's offense. He stinks. Hey, a lot of people feel that way.
Well, here's where I have a problem with that, right? You're just trying to take credit away from one coach saying it's because of another one.
Right.
I mean, to me, we're not in the locker room. We don't know what the hell's going on, and to me, that's just that's a little bit unfair. Because there's no coach that's doing everything themselves.
Right.
So like everyone on that staff is responsible, and certainly the offense coordinator is heavily responsible for whatever an offense is doing. I mean, we could likewise say, well, they shouldn't fire Gas now because it's Mario's offense, right?
Right.
He gets blamed. He doesn't get credit for Michigan. He gets blamed for this show. No, they're both him. And that's the reality of it. It was bad this year. And he owns that, but if he owns that, then he gets credit for last year at Michigan. Like, you can't have, well, it's Harbaugh's credit, but Gas's blame here. Like, that doesn't work.
Yeah, I get that. Last question of the night from Anthony Mendez. Guys, do you think we're getting less from our DCs because of the two DCs? One maybe overshadowing the other. I know individually they are great DCs, but I'm not sure the duel is working out. So number one, we don't have two defensive coordinators. We only have one. It's Kevin Steele. Yeah. Charlie Strong is our linebackers coach. And two, no, I just think we didn't have enough talent. When your defensive backs are getting smoked, play in and play out, there's not much you can do and not much trust you have in calling anything else than what he did. I mean, you're gonna see. I mean, it's hard for me to say, to sit here and say with the amount of experience and the amount of success that Kevin Steele has had at his other stops that have been big time SEC programs, big time schools, and everybody loves his defense. He has great defenses. He's been able to develop players. It's hard for me to sit here and say, Georgia scored again. It's 24-7. It's hard for me to sit here and say that now Kevin Steele doesn't know how to be a defensive coordinator anymore, right? Like, it's just hard for me to say that. Like, I think you need to have the players to be able to run the defense that you want. And I think, when you realize you can't do that, you're going to give up points because your defense is not great. You don't have linebackers. All your linebackers are hurt or they aren't very good, and you're depending on a freshman linebacker to be your number one guy. Your defensive backs are all getting smoked. Even your best defensive back who's probably going to get drafted. I mean, you've got these issues, and you're expecting your front four and your front seven to be this absolute juggernaut. It's not going to happen. You're not going to be able to call the right plays. You're not going to be able to be successful. So, no, I think that once you start to see this this team build and develop some depth and get the right guys in, you're going to see how good that defense can be.
Yeah, I don't view it that differently than the offense. Like, there's pedigree. The performance wasn't good last year. If Mario, he knows what's going on there. If he decides, we got to move on, then he needs to do that.
By the way, yes, Steele has been fired. So has Bill Belichick and Nick Saban. I mean, what are we talking about? Everybody.
So is Mario.
So is Mario. Everybody gets fired, man. I'm not going to say it on that.
Yeah, I would just say, like, I view it the same as the offense. The performance was bad enough where Mario's like, yeah, I got to make a change there. I'm good with that. The pedigree is strong enough where if he's like, no, I'm bringing these guys back, just stick with it. It's going to work. I'm good with that too.
Yeah.
But I don't think it's some kind of personality clash between, as Jazz said, we only have one defensive coordinator, but I don't think it's some kind of like butting heads with Strong or something that's causing an issue. Otherwise, one of them would have been gone already because Mario wouldn't put up with that. So
I think that's about it.
You want to quickly dispense with this from Ben?
Well, no.
That's it. That was easy. Yeah, no. That's what I was like. Do you want to quickly? I knew the answer there. No, it's going to be TBD.
Yeah, no. Thanks for everybody coming out and watching the show. Lewis Allen, Philly, Ben, Anthony, all you guys. We love fighting with you guys in the chat. We appreciate it. We appreciate you. Y'all bring up some great points and some good questions, so I love it, man. Even if I'm wrong, that's all right. I'll take the I don't care. But I'm never wrong, so it doesn't matter. But I love you guys. No, I'm just messing around. But we appreciate everybody coming on and joining the show. And for all the rewatch crew, we appreciate you guys as well. we'll probably have some really good info for you next week, as well as signing day. So we'll probably have Cormani McLean's decision soon. Actually, yeah, we'll have it because he makes his decision this weekend. So we'll have an update for you on that. Hopefully, we'll have an update for you. Chill with the go Yankees thing, Philly King. Chill with that, bro. We don't put that stuff up, okay?
Absolutely not.
Vish, do not do it. Yeah, do it.
You asked for it. You asked for it.
Unbelievable. We got two Red
Go
Sox.
Yankees.
We got two Red Sox fans here, and you're putting that stuff up. Jesus. Yeah, we got some more content. Here we go. It's only starting in 2023, man. We'll have a lot more transfer portal news, a lot more recruiting news, and yeah, we're just excited. To
Yeah,
bring some more
so
content.
we'll be here all off season too. So
yeah, we'll be here in the
it's a
offseason.
weekly show. So yeah, appreciate the kind words, but we're not going anywhere. So.
We're not going anywhere, JAA.
We get to yell about the coaches for another 9 months. Jeez.
Oh my
Long
god.
time. I guess we should go ahead and congratulate Georgia on back-to-back championships.
Yeah.
Because that game was way over. We should. Can we? Damn, it was live.
It's not way over yet, but they are.
I mean,
We
we
just
were like
first part of the show.
I mean, we were all like, we all picked Georgia to win. We're like, no, it'll be a good game. TCU will hang around. That game was over like after the first two plays. Ooh.
Not anytime soon. Anyways, we'll see you guys next week. Yeah. Probably at a little bit later time, probably 8.
Well, I mean, we got next week's a holiday on Monday, and someone's NFL team.
I gotta work, so.
Well, someone's NFL team is getting bounced out of the playoffs during this time, so might be occupied. Not the Dolphins. The Dolphins are not playing Monday night. Someone else's team.
No, someone else's team. We'll see.
Not the Patriots, that's for sure.
No, we're talking about the Dallas Cowboys.
Yeah, so your boy here might be occupied a little bit. So we might
Wait,
have to
Vish,
call
you're
out
a Cowboys fan?
Yeah, he's a Cowboys fan.
Born in Texas.
Oh, okay. I never knew because you didn't tell me at least 50,000 times upon me meeting you. So my bad. Good on you, Vish.
Hey, DJ, what do you think about Justin Turner, though, baby?
Justin Turner, I like that addition. I really do.
I like it too.
And we re-signed Devers. I was afraid they were going to let him walk with the way the offseason's going. So
I know.
I'm okay with that. I'm all right with
we're
that.
Doing all right. We're I think it's looking a little bit better than we anticipated.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
So I think we need another arm. Go get one of those Marlin arms. They're no good over there.
Please. So they had like four good arms.
What's the point over there? They're gonna put them to no use over there anyways. So pointless to have good arms.
I agree.
In Miami. But anyways,
if we're gonna talk baseball, at least talk Canes baseball. What are you guys doing?
Well, hey, number 9 in the country.
I was about to say the polls came out.
The polls came out.
9 in one, I think 6 in another one. I think
they're
right on that national seed line.
Yeah, not bad. They got some big bats coming in with the addition from Farrow from Florida Gulf Coast University. They got that big kid Jack Scanlon, big catcher. That can come in and produce a little bit. You got some of the other guys coming. Obviously, Yo-Yo. I mean, obviously, one of the top players in the country. You've got Walters coming in. I think it's going to be interesting to see what they do with their rotation.
Yeah, the rotation will be.
It's going to be interesting.
It's got to be Rosario. I mean, he's finally got to put it together.
We'll see.
He's the only guy who shows up in the postseason, though. Both of his postseason nights have been
maybe
awesome,
he should show up in the regular season while he's at it.
He's just saving it up.
Anyways.
Anyway.
We'll see you guys next Monday. Adios.
The 6 Ring Kane Show. Yeah. The 6 Ring Kane Show. Yeah. The 6 Rings Kane Show.